once again to another fine episode of the Ferris Wheel. I'm one of your co-hosts, co-creators, and co-conspirators, Ferris Kennedy. And in a booth to the left of me, a man who only wore a loincloth to his book signing.
Dr. Ian Clark.
And in the booth across from us with our producer Armando, a man who grew up on the Never Never Land Ranch.
Armando, keep your hands to yourself, man. My God.
Stephen Wheeler.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a special guest. Yes, it finally happened. The Ferris wheel has evolved and people like us.
Yes.
Our special guest is best known as the afternoon mouthpiece.
Hold on. People like you? Not for long after I've been on. No. You're so screwed.
This is why we do it. He is. You could tell by the voice, he is the afternoon mouthpiece on Shea 106 Ottawa. Every day he gets to engage his carbon mind and wallow in the on-air sluice of his own making. He is a proud Scotsman from Dundee who loves his Calgary Stampeders, Calgary Flames, Seattle Seahawks. He is the man who invented the catchphrase, the Manchurian Cantaloupe and Chief, and thinks Ed Sheeran needs to run a brush through his hair.
Well, it's time, don't you think?
That's it.
Yeah.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Cosmo Grant.
How you doing, lads?
Yes, sir.
How you doing? Great to be Armando, though. Why am I being physically accosted here? This was not part of our agreement, man.
If you just, I think, what is it? Wheels always said, if you just close your eyes and think of something different.
Think of England. Anyway.
Think of the Queen.
Think of Scotland.
Yeah.
So this is, obviously Cosmo did not think he was going to be accosted during this episode. Thank the Lord that Ian and I are in one booth. And
Armando's lonely. Good.
Yeah, and Wheels, this time around, Wheels, your attention's been shifted to a different area because there's like fresh meat in there for Armando.
Put your clothes back on.
Yeah, good idea.
Is he licking your forehead, Cosmo?
Yeah, no, I don't have to pay for this, do I? I mean, I'm cheap-ass Scotsman,
no.
so
This is free, man. This is free.
Oh, great. Okay, well, lick away, Armando. Lick away, dude.
Free love. Free love.
You must be salty.
So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally doing a show on David Bowie.
David Bowie, sure.
Do you know who David Bowie is?
Rings a bell.
What other name did he go by?
Well, he went by Davy Jones.
That's his birthright, is it not?
Oh, my God, you so Googled that.
Actually, I knew that. That's what's sad.
I didn't, actually. I had to Google it.
Oh, he was in the Monkees, wasn't he? No, that's the other Davy Jones.
The better-looking one, right?
Yeah, well, they're both dead now, unfortunately.
That
That's
is
true.
unfortunate, yes.
Bit of a downer to start the podcast, don't you think?
Yeah. Hey, we got to give history, right?
So,
Well, I can give a bit of a history on David Bowie. Would you like me to do that?
I would, yeah.
Brief rundown and maybe 2 minutes about this fella.
Do you think he went by Bobo, by the way?
He went what?
Bobo. There's a guy on Howard Stern show called Steve Bowie, and he goes by Bobo. I just thought I'd say that.
I'm just going to have you put
right.
to sleep.
Arsehole. Come on.
Okay, David Bowie was born David Robert Hayward Jones. No, David Robert Hayward Stenton Jones. Stenton, interesting, 1947. And he died in 2016. You might recall he was 69. He was 15 years old. He formed his first band called the Conrads. Then he formed the King Bees. Trivia, King Bees, of course, named after a Muddy Waters song.
Very nice.
Liza Jane was his first song that he wrote. And he's known as Davy Jones and the King Bees. Wasn't successful. Moved on to another group called the Lower Third. Kind of a Who type band. And you can actually Google them, and there's stuff on YouTube, Davy Jones and the Lower Third. And he renamed himself, as we were saying earlier, from Davy Jones to David Bowie. Bowie went back and forth on this story throughout his life, but generally the feeling is that he changed it because of Davy Jones of the Monkees. Now, Davy Jones and the Monkees was a minor star in England at that time. He was in the original production of Oliver as the Artful Dodger, so he had a bit of a following. So Bowie changed his name, supposedly after the inventor of the Bowie knife. 1967, he had a solo single called The Laughing Gnome, which really is a real piece of work. You have to hear it. with sped up.
Well,
vocals.
it's more like it's a kid's song essentially.
It
That's what
really is.
Yeah.
It's a novel. It's a
That's all I've forgotten it. That's all I got. That's my laughing gnomon person. Wow.
That's
Brilliant.
That's so accurate. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
67, he met a guy named Lindsay Kemp. Lindsay Kemp was a huge influence. In fact, Lindsay Kemp was a very odd cat. He did more than that. He taught Bowie mime, and which influenced for the rest of his life.
Another guy who passed away fairly recently.
He just
actually.
went. And at this time, for extra cash, he was in an ice cream commercial, but he's rejected for the Kit Kat chocolate commercial. There's some trivia for him. He was on a short tour with Mark Bolan, T-Rex, and Bowie was third on the bill. He did a mime act. Can you imagine this stuff? 69, Space Oddity
The
came.
drugs were fine. But
I was going to say.
can you imagine? Can you imagine? Oh,
What
if only.
If only someone taped it. Yeah, David, you're on third. Okay, you have to walk
Well, yeah,
against...
not that he noticed.
You've got to walk against the wind. Can you do that? Space Oddity. Bowie again initially said, no, nothing to do with Space Odyssey. Then he said, yeah, it was a riff on Space Odyssey. Anyway, it came out in July of 69. What else can I tell you? His second album came out. It caused some confusion because it was named David Bowie. And his first album was named David Bowie. In the States, it was released as Man of Words, Man of Music. In the 60s, they used the word man a lot, not just in Dennis Hopper movies. It was in a lot of titles.
Peace man.
Hey, man.
Man.
Don't try the brown acid. He assembled a band called Hype, which they had a disastrous gig in London. And because of that, they said, Bowie, you should go as a solo artist. And he did. He went back in the studio, recorded his third album called The Man Who Sold the World, which you're familiar with.
It's a very good song that was redone by Nirvana.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
71, Hunky Dory, great album. That's kind of when I discovered.
The Thinking Man's David Bowie album. So not the three, you guys wouldn't be interested. Perhaps Armando.
Well,
I'm really warming up to him.
It's that special
Lower
gel.
Armando, a little bit lower. There you go.
Special
That's a
jelly
ticket.
heads.
There you go.
He went on a U.S. tour, and here's some interesting trivia. And he met two proto-punk type guys, Iggy Pop and Lou Reed. He melded their characters into a fictional character he initially called Iggy Stardust. Then he said, nah, he went to Ziggy Stardust. He got the Stardust from a guy, he's a very strange cat called the legendary Stardust Cowboy. You take a look at him on YouTube. He's a very knocked off character. Anyway, he put it all together. And in 72, he launched Ziggy Stardust, and it made him a star. That's really where it all boils down to. From 72, and he played a famous concert, series of concerts, rather, ending in 73 in July, where he retired Ziggy Stardust. 74, moved to the States, New York, and then L.A. Bad time to be in L.A. in 74, a lot of drugs. Anyway, he released Diamond Dogs in 74. A lot of people love that album. 75, Young Americans. So, let's see. Oh, here's some trivia I came across. I didn't know this one. Golden Years was originally offered to Elvis Presley,
It was.
who declined it. Interesting.
Yeah.
it was on the soundtrack, though, for A Knight's Tale.
Well, don't let me hear you say, baby, that's taking you nowhere, man. Okay, man? I always fantasized about Presley singing that. Okay, man. 76, Station to Station, introduced a guy named the Thin White Duke, which was easy to say thin with him.
Well, by then, Bowie was putting the white in Thin White Duke.
Oh, wow. He's so unhealthy looking if you see
Oh,
him.
yeah.
He looks thin, like really thin.
He looks pretty sick, yeah.
Yeah.
About this time, got into trouble by saying Britain could benefit from a fascist leader and was detained by customs on the Russian-Polish border.
Yeah, the Nazi salute at the English train station didn't help.
Didn't help.
No.
Okay, no.
He's caught with Nazi paraphernalia. That poor guy. I mean, he blamed it later on his drug addictions and the character of the Thin White Duke. Oh, well. 76 went off to Germany and West Berlin, rather, and tried to revitalize his career. He turned out 3 interesting albums, Low, Heroes, and Lodger. And Heroes was with Robert Fripp of King Crimson. for Petronics.
The
And,
most underrated guitarist on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was great.
Yep.
And Scary Monsters, Super Creeps, 1980. With
My favorite David Bowie album.
Is it really?
Yep. By far.
Was it Scary Monsters?
Yeah, Scary Monsters, Super Creeps.
Ashes, too. Yeah, that was a great album. And he reintroduced Major Tom from Space Oddity, kind of a self-referential thing.
That was in Mr. Deeds, too.
Who?
Or was it Scary Nazis? Just trying to make up for the controversy.
That one was not in Mr. Deeds. But I can guarantee you that one was not in Mr. Deeds.
Bowie paired with Queen in 81 for Under Pressure. And that was a big hit. 83, he did Let's Dance.
Oh, Vanilla Ice is going to hell for sampling that, by the way.
Is it really?
As well, you should.
Straight to hell. Yeah.
I like when millennials say, "Wow, they stole that from Vanilla Ice."
Oh, you're legally allowed to kick them in the jimmy for that.
I so want to kick a feeling into the gym. Don't get me started on this one.
Oh, my God.
That's like Paul McCartney's from Wings, you know. Tonight, I remember the album 85. I bought it. Wasn't that great, but I remember it came out. You know, what else? 89. He went, they say, into relative obscurity. Yeah, he was formed a band called Tin Machine.
Yeah, he did that because he thought. Well, by the mid '80s, he really. I mean, he was at the peak of stardom.
Oh yeah,
right. And he always wrestled with that because he was starting to move into the Lionel Richie mode, that sort of thing.
Dancing
Comfort
in the
zone.
street mode.
Comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Lionel guy, but
Lionel's good.
we all are, right?
I love Lionel.
In the end.
Yeah.
Oh, you love Lionel?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, sing me a song.
Hello? Is it me you're looking for? You caught me on the spot there, Cosmo. Holy cow.
It's actually not. I'm not really looking
I
for.
found him. His name's Armando. Anyway, so by then he thought, now this is just getting too big for me, and he decided, well, I'm gonna hook up with a band. Perhaps I can just blend into a band. No, you're David Bowie. This is not gonna happen. So he did the 2 Tin Machine albums, and wasn't really my cup of tea.
No,
Yours?
it wasn't mine. Especially, I don't know if you guys know Soupy Sales. You know the name?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right,
he was a
right.
con from the 60s. His two sons were Tin Machine. So there you go.
I didn't know. Look at that.
Sure,
you
the
know?
Sales Brothers. He reunited with Eno for Outside in 95. A very strange bit of stuff he was doing there. It was almost it's based on a short story he wrote. Anyway, around this time he issued something called Bowie Bonds. You might be interested in this because he got $55 million from Prudential. Basically, he sold the royalties to his future earnings for a limited amount of time, actually up to 2007, because he wanted the money now. And that's the way Bowie Bonds worked. And since then, a number of celebrities have followed his road. Smart guy. Around this time, Bowie had a series of health issues. 2007, he had a heart attack actually on stage in Germany. He had
2003.
2000. Yeah. Oh, 5-4 was it 3?
3.
And
Luckily, I saw him. About 2 weeks in Winnipeg. I saw him 2 weeks before he had that heart attack.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And since
I'd like to
then,
thank David's heart for holding off
a poor
for a
guy.
couple of weeks.
Because that
Thanks.
really finished him off. He was a different type of guy after that. He had
Well, he was a lifelong smoker.
and heavy drugs, and it just takes
But it's the rock and roll lifestyle, man. It
rock and
takes
roll
its toll.
lifestyle.
Yep.
And it got to him, and he had a number of heart attacks.
I mean, I think
after
I
that.
probably have about a week left until I go. So,
Although I always wondered, what drug is strong enough for dancing in the street to sound like a good idea?
He's with Mick Jagger.
Exactly. That makes it even worse.
Whoa! Well,
What's wrong with the Stones?
Nothing. No, but it just doesn't mesh. And the video clip, it was just
It was horrible.
horrible.
Yeah, it was pretty awful.
well, they threw it together in 5 minutes for Live Aid.
I like the
and it's obvious.
The jackets they're wearing, like these long ass trench coats. Like, what the hell?
I know. Poor guy. What else? There's not
It was
much.
for a good cause.
It was
Exactly,
for a
yeah.
good
Come on,
cause.
man. Jeez.
Let's see what he did. 2013, his 66th birthday, he released The Next Day. Good album, in my opinion. 2014, Nothing Has Changed. The album was released. Rare Tracks, No Material. 2015, wrote some Broadway musical stuff and for a television series. And then brings us to 2016 with Black Star, which is, again, a kind of a dark album.
Trivia on that one.
Yeah.
He knew apparently he was sick. And that video that he had for that, I don't know exactly what song it is, but it was a video.
Is it Lazarus?
Well, he was like kind of wrapped up.
Yeah.
Well, again, this is the brilliance of Bowie.
Yeah.
He used his death and presented it as a piece of art.
Yeah. So
What other artist would even think about doing that?
If you know you're going, yeah.
Other than the brilliant one, David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Brian Adams?
He's not dead yet.
Leonard Cohen, maybe to a certain degree.
Yeah, Cohen knew by the end. Yeah. That's true. And the last bit of trivia, he declined to play the villain Max Zorn in the James Bond film A View to a Kill.
But he also was in Labyrinth. You forgot to mention that.
No, I didn't want to go into film stuff. He did a lot, like Christopher Lawrence. He did a great role in that. But I thought that would be because Christopher Walken took that role. So there you go. There's Bowie in about 5 minutes.
He was also in Extras as well with Ricky Gervais. Remember that?
No, that was great.
Yeah. What was the song? Was this
Funny
Pug
Little
Face,
Man.
Fat Face, something like that?
See his pug nose
His face. See, and Gervais just sitting there like, oh, worst day of his life, right?
That was a great Bowie song.
But I need some
Silly
clarification.
little fat man.
Yeah.
No one's bloody laughing.
I need some clarification.
Please go ahead.
Cosmo or Ian can answer. Is it true that him and Mick Jagger swapped wives, or they slept with each other? What was the deal with that?
Yeah, they were just having tea together, man.
You
All
shut
right.
your filthy
Tea bagging.
The way that Armando's doing that to you right now?
Yeah, well, yeah.
But here's another.
It reminded me of that story. Yeah.
Here's another tidbit of trivia,
Silly
actually.
little fat
What's his name there? Hardy on XM, Sirius XM, the 90s on 9 channel. They were talking about songs, and no one ever knew that Heroes was a Bowie original. A lot of people in the 90s thought it was a Wallflowers.
Are you kidding?
Are you serious?
They did a survey on that one. Yeah.
I know it's embarrassing, isn't it?
It's
That's
sad.
really sad.
You know, you have to weep for the world.
Really, at some
know?
point, it's over.
And it's just like, how can you not know? Like, really, Wallflowers? Like, okay, I'm sorry. 6th Avenue Heartache was written by Adam Duritz. One Headlight, I'm almost positive Adam Duritz wrote it for them. Okay?
Yeah.
Jacob Dylan's not that talented. So,
Robert Zimmerman is going
Does
to
he
kick
have?
your
Does
ass.
he have a famous father?
yeah,
Bob.
something. Or no, what's his Lefty? No, Lefty.
No, don't do the. Don't do that.
So,
Poor Roy Orbison. Never.
so let's
Got
get
it
on. Let's get on with Cosmo now. Cosmo, what does Bowie mean to you? And give us, some of your spiel. With Armando groping you as you're saying.
I know this is tough. Although as time goes on here, I'm enjoying it more and more. So keep it up, Armando. Keep it up. So I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag here. You asked me. You said, Cosmo, you send me something about Bowie, blah 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 blah. And so I sent it to you. So I'm going to read it verbatim. To me, Bowie transcended being a mere pop star. He taught me from a young age to challenge convention and to always push the notion that it's acceptable to be different. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you must all be massive Bowie fans. Because you're certainly different.
Get rid of him now.
You're regretting inviting me on this podcast, aren't you?
No, are you kidding? I think I never seen Ian laugh so much right now,
Call security.
and I never seen Armando lick his chops with having 2 pieces of meat in the same booth.
Well, thanks for the compliment. But all this aside, let's just call it. Let's just call it now, okay? Bowie, fucking God.
It's true.
Yeah.
It really is.
He was a genius. He was. I did pick up that From Mars. What? I don't even know what is it.
What? Life on Mars?
The Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy played that one.
I got it for $7. Brand new Cosmo.
$7.
Brand new on
wow.
CD.
Oh man.
The From Mars to I don't even know the
Spiders from Mars.
That's it. Spiders from Mars. Thank you very much. I don't even know the title of it, but I bought it.
Vinyl?
No. CD, my friend. CD.
Still, that sounds shit.
Ooh,
$7.
CD.
Brand new CD, $7.
Wow.
Put it in the old dock and I even uploaded it to the iPod just in case.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. I'll be honest. Listening to Cosmo on the air and talking to my close comrades here,
Yeah.
I learned to appreciate other things as you get older, and you open up to a lot of different music. Now, Cosmo, you being a heavy Bowie fan, and obviously respecting what you say, it is easy to be influenced on it because you point out similarities and things that the average listener would not know if you're not familiar with the artist and if you don't really take a true passion for it. So for that, I do thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Like, you're going to thank me like Armando's thank you? Or-
well,
That we should tape.
Next!
that we tape.
the
That
Mick
goes on-
Jagger and David Bowie having
goes
tea
on-
together.
Although that album does get all the press, okay? The Ziggy album gets all the press, but it's his next album where he really came into his own. Hunky Dory is a masterpiece
Yeah, it's great.
from start to finish. And again, it's the thinking man's Bowie album, and every single song it's just weaved in perfectly. Like, I can't think of a song that's out of I can't. It is, you take it as it is, as an actual full album from start to finish, which of course that's irrelevant these days, right? Full albums like that
It's hard now.
aren't in vogue. It's one song, and then as an artist you have one song to make it and you're gone, right? But that's true art, that entire album. Yeah, Ziggy, again, got all the press and that put him on the map and the whole thing, but I urge you, my friend, get out there and find another $7 compact disc. Oh my God. What were compact discs? I've forgotten. I don't know.
Well, you're into that whole MP3 thing now?
MP what?
Yeah. Are you streaming?
Actually, I'm going back to vinyl now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, these two guys are into it.
Yeah, I'm a vinyl guy now.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But do you like the vinyl Armando's wearing right now?
Oh yeah, babe.
so,
Especially the underwear.
so what we're gonna do is.
But anyway, Hunky Dory. If there's one thing you take away from me, this podcast and my stupid ramblings, Hunky Dory. Listen to that album from start to finish, and that really, to me, captures the essence of what David Bowie was about back then in '73 and what he became years later.
But I think the genius of Bowie you really get from an LP.
Absolutely.
Because he's all-around genius. He's a visual genius. Because let's face it, a CD cover is so small, you don't get all the details.
Yeah, you got a point there.
And like you said, it's an album. So it's start to finish, it's a ride.
Yeah.
Which, again, with CDs, you could skip so easily, people got really bad habits.
Yeah.
No, it's true. You got a point. And what really bothered me in a lot of CDs, especially the unplugged versions, on a vinyl, it just continues and goes. Sometimes in CDs, you can hear that break in between, right?
Yeah.
So if they do it right, there's some that are done right. But I agree with you guys 100%. I'm not a big vinyl guy because it's a lot of commitment. You know that for vinyl. No?
Well, buy a record, throw it on a turntable, and play it. Whoa,
Yeah.
that's a commitment to you?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, you have to clean it, though.
That's why he lives alone.
All right. So
I can give you some trivia if you're interested in Life on Mars.
Okay.
Please.
Life on Mars, the melody's based on a French song. And they also adapted it for My Way by Frank Sinatra.
Yes.
Same thing, yeah. There you go. It's just it's a very common melody. In fact, there's a group on YouTube. It's a British group. They combine the two songs at once, effortlessly.
Well, here's something I want to share with everybody, and everyone could jump in. And Life on Mars is on this list, so it's good to hear. And it's a top 10 of the top 10 Bowie lyrics. So I'm going to start off with Memory of a Free Festival, which was released in '69. And one of the lyrics is, "The sun machine is coming down and we're going to have a party." What do you think about that one?
What do I think of? What do I think of that? Well, it's actually quite a lame ass lyric, if you ask me. This is obviously from Bowie's. Bowie was just, he wasn't even hitting his stride yet.
He was like 14.
No, this is-
Leave him
yeah.
alone.
This is the self-title, I think.
What's the what?
It's from the self-title album.
Oh, right.
David Bowie, self-titled
Yeah,
album.
of
Then
course.
the next one is from The Man Who Sold the World, which is The Man Who Sold the World. 4 years and years I roamed, I gazed a gazeless stare.
Now we're getting deep, man.
That's very
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing of Bowie stuff, and you admitted this or whatever, confessed it later on, is mostly about isolation, right?
Alienation.
Isolation. He wrote
Absolutely.
He wrote a lot about aliens, like he just did, and he starred in movies. He was a different kind of cat. We spoke earlier. We went to a show. The difference between like a solo artist like Bowie or Neil Diamond or somebody in a group like the Beatles, what have you. Bowie was really alone. He was a gutsy guy in many ways. He had no one around him. And he wasn't self-alienated, as he said, especially in the 70s. So you look over this title sometimes, like Loving the Aliens or Life on Mars or Space Oddity. He was alone.
Well, Loving the Alien is about his brother, Terry.
Yeah.
Major mental issues, and ended up actually killing himself in an institution around the mid-'80s. So that was always sort of trailing David around, for sure, and it showed up in his work. Case in point, Loving the Alien.
Yeah, great.
And speaking of isolation, you're right, because the next one, TVC 15.
Great song.
TVC 15. Where are you getting this stuff?
Station to Station. It's It's in the handouts I gave you.
Oh, right.
See, you got to understand, when you're a star like Ian Clark,
Yeah.
you don't care.
You don't care?
He just walks in, he's already had a few scotches. He's flirted with a couple of women down the road.
My hero.
Did you know that he actually had a thing with Joan Jett?
Well, when I knew her, she wasn't Joan Jett.
Oh, well, you
She
made her
was
Jett.
Jane Jett?
No, it was Joan something. As a
Joan Marisa.
Yeah, we just did her name. Her actual name was like Joan Marie Teresa.
Anyway,
Bankhead or something.
TVC 15.
But she wouldn't be interested in you, though.
No, not me, him.
Well, enough.
I had a thing with Alicia
No, she would be
Keys.
interested in him.
Oh, no?
No, not even enough drinks in her.
Well, I don't know. You tell me. You were there.
No, I wasn't really. Physically, I was.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
So from TVC 15, Station to Station, the lyric is, my baby is in there someplace, loves rating in the sky, so hologramic, oh my, TVC 15.
All right.
So that's another one there.
Yeah.
Here from Scary Monsters and Super Creeps.
Sure.
My favorite.
That's it. She had a horror of rooms. She was tired. You can't hide beat. When I looked her in her eyes, they were blue, but nobody home. That's pretty deep, actually.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Diamond Dogs from Diamond Dogs. As they pulled you out of the oxygen tent, you asked for that light
party. Sure.
You threw me off.
Well, sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right.
When you get old, it happens.
Older.
Yes. 5 years from the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust.
That's a
and
brilliant track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
News guy wept when he told us Earth was really dying. Cried so much that his face was wet. Then I knew he was not lying.
It's a great song with a fine lyric, but after hearing that, it kind of makes you want to just crawl up into a ball in a darkened room for the rest of your life. Doesn't
Or
it?
the oxygen tent.
It sounds pretty.
Yes, they pulled.
A lot of these things are actually very dark. Actually,
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, he
They are.
wasn't. You're not going to Brian Wilson stuff here.
Yeah.
Bowie was a heavy cat. Like he's
Life on Mars.
Yeah.
From Hunky Dory.
sure.
It's on America's tortured brow that Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow.
Ooh, bit of a slag of the USA there.
Now the workers have struck for fame because Lennon's on sale again.
Manchurian Cantaloupe and Chief wouldn't enjoy this track at all. The dog.
Would he actually get it?
No, actually, no, he wouldn't. Carry on.
Rock and Roll Suicide from the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Time takes a cigarette, put it in your mouth. Number 2,
Yeah.
the Genie, or in French, the Jean Genie.
Oh, good.
Aladdin Sane, strung out on lasers and slash back blazers. To me, that means you're gone to the bay and you went and buy an overcoat. And then from the number 1 lyric that they had chosen, Heroes. From Heroes, I will be king and you will be queen.
Wow.
That's pretty deep. I like that.
Could have been used in Bohemian Rhapsody, really.
Well, in reality, he did collaborate with Queen, so yeah.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
There you go.
A lot of things make sense.
And Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
He stole from Vanilla Ice.
Oh, that's right. Queen and Bowie stole from Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla
A lot
Ice.
of people
Right.
did.
Yeah, and Jeff Beck is Beck, right?
No, Beck stole from
Vanilla
Jeff.
Ice stole 4 minutes of my life when I first heard that. I was like, you bastard.
So the next thing on the list we're going to talk about is albums, top albums ranked, and
Okay.
here you go.
Okay.
You want to start off with they got 26 of them, so you want to do
Good
26 to. Wait, you want to start off, Cosmo?
All right, hold on. Yeah?
Let me help Ian with his papers here.
Oh, yeah, no, it's all these.
You're licking
papers.
Ian's fingers so that he can turn the page. Man.
You gotta help the guy out.
Yeah, true.
There you go. Those are the ones.
All right, here. What, okay.
I got it.
Where are we at here?
Because Ian prints his stuff double-sided. Why?
Okay, so you want me to start reading these?
Yeah, go through them, Just tell us what you think.
Okay, well, number 26. Well, yeah. And there's good reason that it's at the bottom of the list here, because it is David Bowie's worst album.
Which is that?
Never Let Me Down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his Phil Collins years. And actually, that's by saying that's kind of doing Phil Collins a disservice. Yeah, really. By then, Bowie again. I said earlier. I said he was felt he was moving to Lionel Richie territory, that sort of thing, and was losing himself in stardom, and that 80s thing. You know what I'm talking about.
I know.
yeah.
The 80s thing. Explain the 80s thing. You know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
The 80s things with the Michael Jackson Thriller jacket
Yeah.
and the, I don't know.
On the MTV generation.
And-
that
yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
True.
I mean, you had the biggies in the 80s. You had Michael Jackson, Madonna,
Duran.
Phil Collins was
Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie, Phil Collins, Hall & Oates.
Yeah. And then David Bowie. Bowie doesn't fit in.
No,
There. No way. There's no way. But he was starting to move into that direction. And again, he was on the, every 2 years, I've got to, put something out. And Let's Dance was such a massive album.
Oh, yeah.
You're never going to recreate the sales of that anyway. Even though that's his most commercial album.
Was that the one that has Modern Love on it?
Yeah.
That's honestly has to be my ultimate favorite Bowie song.
Yeah, yet those lyrics, it's like, I catch a paper boy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what the hell are you going on about?
Yeah.
Still to this day, I don't know what that song's about. I really don't.
What's China Girl? What's that one about?
We're not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
The H-bomb.
Oh, okay.
Golden brown. Anyway, Never Let Me Down. Not his best. In fact, his absolute worst, and marks the only instance where Bowie, he really didn't care about it. He was just putting a product out there to sell. Although he did back it up with the Glass Spider tour, which was an amazing tour for its time. Although it was just it was massive. There was a glass spider, and then Bowie, and this was an entire stadium tour of the world. And at the time, it just seemed overblown. I thought it was great. It's a massive spider on stage, and then Bowie was, they dropped him in this foam booth in the middle of the stage, and there are dancers all over the place. It was a real massive production. And at the time, he was accused of, well, this is overblown. This is, what are you doing? But then you look, a few years on, U2 stadiums. He defined the stadium show before bands like U2 and even Springsteen and the like. They jumped into stadiums and figured it out from there. Actually, Freddie Mercury and Queen, he was the one who mastered how to make every single fan in that stadium feel like he was performing for them. Whereas Bowie didn't do that because he just had too much going on. Whereas Freddie,
Eccentric,
Live
though.
Aid,
Yeah, very eccentric. Yeah, he nailed
Sure
it.
did.
he connected with not only with those in the stadium, but how many billions around the world. He was just a master at that. Bowie had too much going on the stage, but the production was massive. I had never seen anything like that. stadium show around 1987, and the precursor for other stadium shows to come. So at the time, he was kind of slagged for it a bit. It's like, well, Bowie's like, what is he doing here? This is way over the top. But you look beyond into the 90s, and now stadium tours they're massive.
Well, because he was already solidified before that.
Oh yeah.
Because they always said at certain days in history, that whole Live Aid for Queen, that stapled them into rock and roll history. That just solidified it for them.
Oh yeah, and they were on the slide.
Yeah.
Queen, they were definitely on the slide. They played Sin City. Sin City. What am I thinking of?
Well, they went to
Or they did the Flash Gordon soundtrack.
No, there was something like an apartheid.
Sin City, Sun City. They played Sun City.
That's true.
Where was the apartheid happening? And they went and performed in
South Africa.
Yeah, mostly for a white audience at a resort there, and Rod Stewart did it. They did it, and they caught shit for it.
They did. But Rod Stewart didn't. I don't know if he did as much as Queen did, but Queen kind of like.
Queen really, they carried the can for that, and so that Live Aid performance really
helped.
Helped them big time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Queen wasn't cool. They weren't that time. It brought them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they needed. It's a good thing they did. Because now at least they could go down in history.
Exactly. But let's get back to Bowie.
Bobo.
No, I remember
we'll do Queen next week.
I remember that Glass Spider tour. Yeah, it was and I also saw him previous at the Serious Moonlight tour, and they were quite different. You're right. Bowie had not grown up. It was more production, more stuff. Serious Moonlight wasn't as much stuff.
No. It's Bowie, the banana suit, and the band, they sort of, they were in the background. Whereas, I don't know, it was like, how many dancers did he take with him on that Glass Spider tour?
Yeah,
all of them.
It was, it was a big deal. You're never really sure. Sometimes Bowie, I can never tell if he was being ironic. He's one of those really, really smart guys. Yep. You're not sure if he's being ironic about the whole form or if he's not. You know what I mean? He's always posing. I could never get a hook on him sometimes. He's almost too smart for his own good, because most of these guys are dodos. But, they're really dumb as sticks. But Bowie always stood out.
Bryan Adams. Just to get a rise out of you. I know you're an Adams guy. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
It's all good. All right. What about the Black Tie White Noise?
Black Tie White Noise, his wedding album he wrote most of that for Iman.
Okay.
Supermodel Iman. He married in the early 1990s.
Now, I heard you dated her before he met her.
I didn't date her.
You sure?
Oh.
Well, yeah, for a bit. I don't like to brag, though. Anyway.
Come on, do like the Manchurian Cantaloupe in Chief, man. He brags all the time.
Tremendous. Black Tie White Noise was a bit of a return to form for him artistically, I would say. Very interesting.
Yeah.
LA riots of the early 90s. He was commenting on those. So he was starting to get back into a bit of social commentary and that sort of thing. So not a bad return to form for him, although the sales weren't great. But by then, Bowie didn't care.
Didn't care.
Yeah,
no, he didn't care. Tonight, 1984, a couple of decent songs on it, but
that's the
Jazzin' for
80s, though.
Blue Jean, babe.
All these genius from the 60s and 70s, something happened in the 80s. Like
it caught up to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, if they didn't die.
MTV.
Exactly.
Really.
MTV.
Much music.
Yeah, good
that
point.
sort of thing.
It became visual.
So the original VJs producing their videos killed it for them? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Video killed the radio stars, man.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then David Bowie's original.
Yeah.
Well, David Bowie, 1967. I mean, it was like cutesy poo pop, basically.
Yeah, it really was.
His early days there, and when he's just trying to find himself. I mean, this is a guy. How many guys? How many different faces did the man wear?
Well, Ziggy Stardust was kind of funny.
I think at that point it's at least 7.
Yeah, 1967. Yeah. Wasn't even started yet. Yeah, and then Hours, 1999. Kind of his, I'd say, his late 90s adult contemporary project. Thursday's Child on there, and not bad. Pretty Things That Go to Hell, which I think is a highlight from that album. Pinups, of course, his covers album.
That was an
Who-
interesting album. I like some of the stuff on that.
Yeah, The Who, The Kinks, Them.
I might check that out.
Yeah,
Actually.
you
Yeah,
might
no,
like
that's a very cool album actually.
Yeah.
and it's one that I don't listen to enough, and I really should. Buddha of Suburbia was soundtrack for a BBC series, and then Outside. That's when he started to do. You remember Midnight? You remember the movie Seven? Do you recall that movie?
Yeah,
With,
with Brad Pitt and
Brad
Morgan
Pitt
Freeman.
and
What's in the box? What's in the box? No, it's
yeah,
Gwyneth Paltrow's head. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so yeah, mid-90s then started to get there was that sort of that. It was sort of, well, it was in the movie. Okay?
spoiler 25 years later.
Did Chris Martin know that before he married her?
Anyway, Outside 1995, he's working with Brian Eno again. I mean, the Berlin trilogy was that was Eno. Eno's fingerprints were all over that, and it was kind of a concept piece, kind of industrial music. And then that's when he went out on tour with Trent Reznor.
9 Inch Nails, baby.
You got it. Hurt myself today.
That's it. That celebrated 25 years ago, eh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Really?
With same day as Super Unknown by Soundgarden. And the sad thing is that they did not give Trent Reznor's album enough recognition. It was all about Super Unknown and Chris Cornell, given the fact that he passed away. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, I wish they would have given Nin a little bit more credit on that day, like a little bit more exposure.
It's probably because he's still very active, so he doesn't really need that exposure.
Nah, but still doesn't matter. Like, he's hardly, what industry would play him,
You're talking Downward Spiral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a great album.
It's a fantastic album.
Yeah.
What's the next one? Earthling.
Earthling has
It's okay.
taken its shots over the years, but I love Little Wonder. I think that's. I just recall the video. I had a young Ziggy Stardust in there.
Are they gonna say a young American?
On I don't know, Subway or something. I recall that.
Yeah.
And then I'm Afraid of Americans.
That's it.
That's a great song. Yeah.
Yeah, with the video with Trent Reznor chasing him.
They should redo that with images of the Manchurian Cantaloupe in Chief.
I'm not afraid. I love Americans actually. I love the American people, but
Just the Chief.
the Chief. Yeah. He can bugger off.
Heathen, how's that one?
Heathen is a fantastic album.
Yeah,
that
it's
is
great.
one of my favorite late Bowie albums. 2002. As I say, Hours to me felt like David trying some late 90s adult contemporary. But there's a Neil Young cover on there. I've Been Waiting for You. And some great originals as well. Heathen is just a fantastic album. Tony Visconti, the producer of some great Bowie albums, including my favorite Scary Monsters, came back to produce this one, and you can tell it's brilliant. Another album from Bowie I highly recommend, Heathen. And then Reality followed that up. That's the album that he toured. That he was pushing that album, and that's we were talking earlier that I saw him in Winnipeg on that Reality tour, and 2 weeks later he had the heart attack, and that was it. He was finished.
Yeah.
So then after Reality, you got there's Reality that came after Heathen, and then you got the David Bowie Space Oddity. That one there is ranked mid-mark, 15.
Yeah, number 15. Probably should be a bit higher, I would think. I mean, it's got Space Oddity on it, for God's sake.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's the song that put him on the map, right?
It sure is.
Yeah.
Diamond Dogs.
Diamond Dogs, 1974, kind of a messy concept record. But, well, what do you think of Diamond Dogs?
It's an amazing album, I think.
Yeah.
I know guys that love it. It is a really a kind of a dark mood he's got, but it's good rock and roll too.
Well, it's got the Rebel, right?
Yeah. And just from a visual standpoint, actually, you have to look at your cover if you have a vinyl copy of it at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are copies out there that are worth a lot more money than others because the pictures of the dogs have certain body parts on them on the original pressings that they pixelated, if we can call it that, or cut off.
Oh, you got Armando going again. Over
Exactly, yeah. No, Armando's telling me this in my ear.
He's whispering in your ear.
But why is he licking it?
It's the salt, man. It's the salt. My boots are now clean.
And then we're moving on to
Next Day.
the next day. 2013. And that was the see. This is the thing about Bowie, the mystique, man. In this internet age, we would have known months before. It would have been leaked. It would have been leaked. Any other artist, it would have been leaked. Oh, Bowie's a new album coming up. No. It was just one day. Boom. Oh, there's an album from David Bowie. Holy shit!
I know.
How did they keep that quiet though? Because the internet's still, still big.
Because David Bowie had such respect. And those who worked with him had to sign confidentiality agreements.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Earl Slick, all these guys, they talk about that.
Yeah, he was smart. He was it was. You recall it. One day it was just
I know, it just
new
appeared.
Bowie album.
We couldn't believe it. It had been years.
It had
really.
been 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the next day is a great album. Yeah,
it's
I
a really
absolutely
good
loved it. Now Bowie returning to form, and then bellowing, "Here I am, not quite dying." You think he knew? He knew that
something was happening.
The end was near.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's all over that album.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Black Star, his final album. Well, final because I assume there's more Bowie material in a vault somewhere.
Well, if Prince has it, then I'm sure Bowie has it.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Probably in the
don't
next
think-
vault.
I don't think Bowie was as much of a compulsive recorder. I don't think he's one of those people. Oh, I have a great idea. I
Yeah,
have to
Prince
record-"
recorded too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was,
Yeah, and like Prince, just tone it down a bit on.
Hey, I'll tell
on
you
the
right
output.
now, Prince's later stuff is unlistenable. I can't listen to it.
Yeah.
No. I think he should have stopped in the 90s, and that was it. That's just my opinion.
Well, he's not around to refute it.
He's not around to argue it, but, whatever.
he's going to give you a symbol.
Young Americans, how'd you like that one?
Young
Buzz?
Americans, well, that's him embracing American, and soul and the whole thing and that Philly sound as well. That is great stuff. And, of course, he worked with John Lennon on that. And they ended up with, a #1 song, Fame. 10 Seconds of Fame, baby.
I like that.
Yeah.
The Man Who Sold the World in 1970.
Fantastic song that Nirvana covered. And the original drummer of Nirvana is the one.
Chad
He's
Channing.
Yes. There you go. You know your Nirvana. Look at this guy.
I love my Nirvana.
Anyway, so the original drummer turned Kurt on to The Man Who Sold the World. They'd only, their Bowie knowledge would probably Let's Dance, that sort of 80s stuff, his big 80s album. But, the original drummer, what's his name again?
Chad Channing.
Oh, Chad. Yes.
Chad.
Chadley turned them on to The Man Who Sold the World, and Cobain loved it. And then when they did the MTV Unplugged project, they covered The Man Who Sold the World. And I love at the end how Kurt's knowingly, he's like, that was a David Bowie song. It's like, bugger off. You didn't, 5 minutes ago, you didn't know. You had no idea
People that were listening.
this album existed. That was a David Bowie song. Well, Lonnie
Till
freaking
5 minutes
Kurt.
before.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you hear the Monkees, eh? That's a Neil Diamond song, eh?
No, they didn't know at the time.
Let's Dance, hey, number 9. They made it in the top 10.
Yeah, and should. Obviously blatantly commercial. He wanted a hit album and deserved a hit album. I don't begrudge him for Let's Dance because as far as other pop records on the radio at the time, it was far and above many of those.
Yeah.
And of course you have Nile Rodgers. Nile Rodgers
really.
of Chic fame. This is David Bowie's Chic album.
Oh. Lodger.
It's the first
Yeah,
time
and
I
of course the brilliant cover of Iggy Pop's China Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Originally from The Idiot.
That's
And
right.
I prefer the original version, but man, did he slick that up in fine style for the 1980s. So Let's Dance, his most commercially successful album, and that's when he became an MTV darling. But it makes sense because Bowie was so visual. He was a natural for MTV.
No, well, he's glam. He was glam. He created glam rock. One of the
part of the progenitor.
Lodger.
Lodger 1979, the third of the Berlin trilogy, R&B, funk there, but my personal favorite from that. So yeah, this is number 8. I am a DJ. I am what I play. Yes.
Gee, you wonder why.
I know.
Yeah.
You're like, it's a bit of a stretch, Cosmo. I don't know that one.
Scary Monsters and Super Creeps.
My absolute favorite album. You've got side 1 begins with Bowie screaming in confusion, it's no game. and then he mixes fashion and fascism, and was actually just making fun of fashion, you know, and how you know, skin deep it truly is. And then Ashes to Ashes song, because again, Major Tom, and he's revisiting the character. Space Oddity is a bit more uplifting. This, no, he's talking about how the little green wheels are following him. My mother said,
Major Tom's a junkie. Yeah,
never want to mess with Major Tom. Drugs,
yeah.
and his demons that he had to deal with in the 70s. By then, I think he was clean, but who knows?
I think there's an urban legend that he went to Berlin basically to clean up with Iggy Pop.
Yeah, he did.
Of all the people,
the last guy I want to
That's the guy I'd go with. Yeah, holy cripes.
Well, Iggy Pop was, he looked like a thin drug
Iggy's
addict.
seen a few late nights, yeah.
Oh, God.
So what's the next one? Aladdin Sane.
Aladdin Sane, that's, Bowie taking Ziggy to America. And by the way, we have to, if we're going to talk Bowie, you've got to talk about Mick Ronson.
Oh, sure.
Mick Ronson, one of the greatest guitarists ever. Sadly, no longer with, is anybody alive anymore?
I know, Mick.
Well,
get the defibrillator, man.
who else? We did? Hal Blaine just passed away.
Well,
recently.
Hal Blaine, what a drummer. No, Mick Ronson was a great arranger, too.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah,
co-wrote a lot, too.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, man, go ahead. He co-wrote a lot of Bowie stuff, and Bowie was tortured to the end because Ronson died pretty poor, and Bowie couldn't kind of give him royalties. And yeah, they were a dynamic duo for a while. He was one of the Spiders.
He couldn't give him any royalties?
No.
Why don't you just cut him a check?
It's not that easy.
Oh, okay.
You just can't, yeah.
Bowie apparently is pretty cheap.
Well,
Yeah, like Rod Stewart is too, apparently. He's
Heroes, 77.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the one, right, from the trilogy. And again, when I said Eno, you can tell he's definitely behind it. And Heroes, probably the most uplifting Bowie song. And this is the great story about how it was inspired. We're talking about Tony Visconti.
Yeah.
Embracing his mistress at the Berlin Wall. Yeah. So between takes, he'd go down and be canoodling. You guys are like, I don't know, some Scottish.
I'm back in
How
Mayberry.
old am I, 80?
Got Andy Griffiths coming through the door.
He's giving her the leg over at the Berlin Wall. And Bowie saw that, what was going on from the recording studio, and he wrote Heroes. He came up with Heroes with Eno. What a fantastic song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got Station to Station.
Station to Station, Bowie, R&B, and then by then Kraftwerk were,
Oh yeah.
They were on the scene, and so he's sort of a, R&B was still part of his repertoire, but then he started getting into the German electronic music and, I don't know, probably the cross-dressing and all that too.
That's right.
And then the album.
It was Berlin,
Berlin.
Exactly, yeah.
late 70s.
It's still Berlin, really.
Really?
No, I mean in the sense that it's still a place where weird people go to become famous.
Yeah.
You sure it's not Las Vegas? Or I'm just.
You
So
sure,
that's where they go to die.
you sure it's not Orchids of Asia?
Boy, okay.
Cosmo, Orchids of Asia, ring a bell?
Well, no, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from
Well,
Mars.
you tell me. You bought it on CD for $7, man. Isn't it number 3?
It's got 9 tracks on it, and I like it, each and one of them. Of course, obviously, the Suffragette City is probably one of
Suffragette.
I can't even read, sorry. But Starman is
We
probably...
learned that years ago.
Yeah, Starman is probably my favorite one on that album.
That's a great
Yeah,
song.
it's a great song.
It is, and that was actually, believe it or not, Ian was the one that introduced that song to me.
Oh.
Not the way Armando's introducing other things to you right now, but Ian introduced...
Do you hear me complaining?
No.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, your favorite album, is this one here, Hunky Dory, is this one yours, Cosmo? Is that the
Yeah,
one?
this is my, along with Scary Monsters. It's tough. Some days it's like, yeah, Scary Monsters is my favorite, and then the next day it's Hunky Dory. I mean, Hunky Dory, just the flow of the album is brilliant. But and Life on Mars is on there. I attended the Brooklyn Museum last summer. Final day of the David Bowie exhibit.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you've heard me.
Yeah, no, tell it.
Final day. So all things Bowie, headphones are on. You go from room to room, and as you head from room to room, the songs kick in based on the era you're walking into.
Oh, cool.
I walked into this white room, very basic white room, glass case. The suit that Bowie was wearing in the video, if you check it out on YouTube, the powder blue suit with the tie and the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's there in the case on the mannequin.
Oh, I know. He had the makeup on. I know that video.
Yeah, and he had the whole thing. And to the left, there was just a screen. And as I walked in, it kicked in. And you know how that song kicks in, right?
Yeah, it's a god-awful, that one?
Yeah, it just sucks you in right away.
Yeah.
And I cried. It takes a
Wow.
while for me to cry.
No, that's a great song. Just the progression of it. And
It was a moment. It was one of those moments. You know, those moments in your life, you're like, it's almost like you're hanging above, and you're looking down on your son. You're like, wow, am I really experiencing this? Yeah, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
well, that's cool.
Yeah, that was a great exhibit. And by the way, you can download the app
Of the exhibit.
of the exhibit.
For $10.99.
Sure, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Bowie app. There's a specific Bowie app.
Yeah, it's a Bowie app.
Yeah.
It's got Bowie is.
Yeah, Bowie is. I saw
Yeah.
that on.
Yeah.
But what also?
Even in death, Bowie is way ahead of his time.
And you also had that other. It was a book that you found for very inexpensive, and it's worth like a couple $100 now.
A book?
Yes, it was something on Bowie. You talked about it on the air, and I was intrigued by it. And it was you had said the lesson is if you see something that you like of any artist, and you look at it one day, and then you realize if you would have bought it that day, it became a different price another day. So you got it for I don't know 20.
Oh no, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Because at the Brooklyn Museum, the Bowie is book, which is I was going to bring it in, but I thought one of you guys would probably rip it off. So I thought, no, I don't trust the three you get thrown together. Anyway, this book was about it was like $200
Whoa.
US.
Oh, Lord.
So you bought it for 200.
No,
Oh,
I bought it for 40 at Chapters in Ottawa.
Oh, cool.
and it had it for $200.
$200 US because you're there, you're walking out of the
know.
exhibit,
Yes.
you're on a high because you've seen all this Bowie, and you're like, I'll have to buy a souvenir. Okay, $200, and then later on you look at your bank balance, you're like, oh shit. Yeah, $40, okay, maybe 50 with tax at Chapters.
See?
See what I'm see?
Yeah.
They get you.
They did get you.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last album, Low.
Yeah, recorded mostly in France, the first LP of the Berlin trilogy. And I'll tell you, I'm sure record company executives, when they first heard this, were like, what is he doing? There's no way we can sell this. There is absolutely no way. I'm not hearing the single, man. I don't hear a single.
Cool.
But taken as a full body of work, absolutely brilliant. Sound and vision is just, oh man, that is a stomper.
Yeah, it's a
That
good song.
song.
And it
Sound
describes
Division's
them
a
really
great
well, too.
Sorry?
It describes them really well. Sound and vision.
Exactly. There you go.
Well, those are the 26 albums.
But
Wow.
you know, though, when we name him one after the other, you realize something about Bowie. He's a little like Steve Jobs. Like he's not necessarily the guy who creates a movement, but he understands it, takes out the marrow from it, and makes it great, and everybody likes it afterwards.
Well, yeah, if you know anything about music, about reading music charts and chords and stuff, you look at Bowie's stuff, it derives a lot from what was happening just before he wrote the song. So you read something like A Space Oddity, and you read the progression, the chord progression that we set up in the keys and stuff, and then you take a look at something like Day in the Life of the Beatles. There's a lot of similarity.
Oh yeah.
There's not plagiarism. It's just that he was listening. Listen to the Kinks like Waterloo Sunset and the bass progressions and so that's fine. That's what artists do. And Bowie was a sponge.
What was the quote? Artists? No, it's something.
Professionals steal, amateurs borrow.
Amateurs borrow, geniuses steal,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot to that.
But in this case, I think it's more than that. It's like literally, he will hear something that's just on the surface, and he goes in, and it just goes to another level with him.
I don't know. I mean, I think Bowie was calculated at times. He was he was definitely a magpie.
Oh yeah.
For sure. He pick and choose things, but then he would. I don't know. He pushed them through this Bowie prism, you know, and brilliant.
Oh no,
Absolutely
exactly.
brilliant.
Yeah.
It was all done in his way. It wasn't
Absolutely.
No, he his biggest influence was himself.
Yeah.
Okay, and he opened up the door for, like you said, people to be themselves.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I like about artists like Bowie, because no matter how you look at it, whether you like his song or not, you can still respect the fact that he is one of those artists that was inspired by himself. He believed in himself, and he was true to himself. A lot of artists say, I was inspired by the Beatles, the Stones, Lenny Kravitz, said his biggest influence was the Beatles. Yeah, okay, so was everybody else's.
Exactly.
But how many people were out there and saying I was influenced by David Bowie? I've yet to. I'm sure there is. And
there's quite a few, actually.
but no one ever said. You don't hear much about it because they always focus on the mainstream.
Yeah.
And I guess Bowie ended up becoming mainstream, but by the time he became mainstream, his name was already solidified.
Yeah, and then he didn't want it anymore,
Yeah,
and then he went off and did his own thing.
Yeah.
And that's
You
the thing. And that's what I like about David Bowie.
Yeah.
So, for the albums
Yeah.
that I do have, of course, I appreciate them. And as you learn, you're going to appreciate even more.
Actually, in the jazz world, I think he's a little like Miles Davis was.
Yeah, sure.
Like Miles Davis would just be 5 years ahead of everybody, but not necessarily creating it, just taking everything that he heard and made it.
Yeah, Davis was a fusion guy.
Yeah.
He was, and we did a Doors show a few sessions ago, and he reminds me a lot too of Jim Morrison. Bowie and Morrison, there's a lot of similarities. They did their own shtick. They're their own.
Would you mind?
Station by Cosmo. And to end off our Bowie show,
Bowie.
Bowie, or
Bowie.
Bobo, as
Bowie.
they call him in certain areas. Top 10 songs of...
In your area.
yeah, in my area, I call him Bobo. But we got
Bobo and Armando.
Bobo and Armando, which actually Cosmo's really loving Armando.
Oh, yeah.
This is good. So one of the top 10 songs, starting it off, is The Man Who Sold the World, as one of the top 10. And that one there came from the album of The Man Who Sold the World. Obviously, a lot of people know it from the cover rendition that Nirvana had did.
And Lulu.
Yeah, Scottish
Lulu
singer
had a
Lulu.
bit of a hit with that in the UK, and at the time, well, I think David was sharing his naughty bit with her.
Oh. I like that.
Bobo and Lulu up in a tree.
It makes sense.
K-I-S-S-I-N-G. Yeah.
Then after that, we're going with 5 Years.
Yeah, Doomsday Scenario song. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, brilliant,
That's a pump up.
brilliant.
Then my personal favorite, which is a Kennedy special called Modern Love.
Yeah.
Again, the lyrics of that, I just have no. I catch the paper boy, but things don't really. What are you going on about? What does this mean?
Well, probably there was he had a blank and he saw Paperboy go by. Hey, that'd be a good lyric, man. Although I don't know
But we
why in
wasn't
this
even trying by then, obviously.
exactly.
It's like, no,
Yeah, he's
no,
phoned it in by
Niles will
that
put
time.
this together for me.
And then we got Rebel Rebel.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, that is the one that you hear on classic rock radio to this day.
It's a
You know,
good
Rebel
song.
Rebel.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
With the riff by Earl Slick. There's some trivia.
Not sure if you're a boy or a girl. Again, this guy way ahead of his time.
Yeah, because it would take 40 years for the rest of the culture to get to that.
Exactly. I was thinking about that earlier today. It came to that, and gender bending or whatever. You're right. I mean, he's 40 years ahead of his time in this, and and now it's just.
Now we're making light of it.
Yeah.
It's true. Ziggy Stardust.
From Ziggy Stardust.
Yes.
Well, Ziggy played guitar.
Yeah. Ziggy.
He played it left hand, too.
Other artists, we were talking earlier about the integrity of David Bowie. Other artists would have just continued milking that
Oh, yeah.
that Ziggy Stardust
good point,
persona, and
yeah.
Bowie just had enough. He's like, God, I'm not going to be taken as David Bowie. I'm going to be Ziggy for the rest of my life. And
Well-
so he
But it's a good persona.
he knocked it on the head. Good for him.
He had a persona. It's like Prince when he went with different names.
Yeah, but it didn't work. Whereas Bowie, it worked.
Well, Bowie was a little bit ahead of his time.
Exactly.
Young Americans, which is probably one of Cosmo's favorites.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I really like that one. And again, I mean that radio friendly song, and he was embracing America at the time. And you've got soul and a bit of funk in there as well, and some horns. Wow. I mean, the guy could do it all.
Yeah, and apparently there's a lyrical nod to A Day in the Life from the Beatles.
Yeah, there is in
Yeah.
that. There's a break in it. I read the news today. Oh, boy.
And then we could be heroes just for a day.
That's the next one on the list.
Or are you just winging it?
I'm winging that one. And then I'll have my main man,
What am I?
Clarksy, doing the last
I'm
three.
reading up from the bottom here.
Bottom, from top to bottom.
But that Heroes, yeah, definitely one of his most uplifting songs, for sure.
It's actually a good one. And it's just sad that people didn't know whenever the Wallflowers did it that it was a Bowie original. Kind of throws me
We had
off.
to tell you
I told
before
you!
we started this podcast. That wasn't a Wallflowers tune.
Armando, keep licking him.
Down to the bone. So Moon Age Daydream, sure, from Ziggy. Yeah, great song. They're all
Powerful
great.
tune. Yeah, and a monster guitar riff by Ronson. Again, Ronson doesn't get enough credit. Apparently, there's a movie in the works about Ronson.
Yeah, there's some kind of documentary that was.
A documentary, biopic, perhaps.
That's good for him. Well, who doesn't know Changes from Hunky Dory? Yeah. I mean,
Ronson also arranged Mellencamp's Jack and Diane.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
well,
And I love that on Changes, there's Rick Wakeman from Yes that's actually playing the piano.
we played it on Mars.
Yeah, Life on
Yeah.
Mars, for sure.
Changes was the last song Bowie sang in public. There you go.
Really?
Yeah, he sang a duet with Alicia Keys, and he's on YouTube. He doesn't look too good in it, but great song. And Space Oddity, is the seminal piece, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the one again that put Bowie on the map, and he'd been trying. I mean, he was not an overnight success.
No, he was around for he did everything. He started as kind of a hippie.
Yeah,
And the whole thing. What a great song that is. It never dates, right?
that's a song that you must play right now. You've got to play that.
Yeah,
song.
we should go out on Space Oddity.
We'll go out on Space Oddity. That's the one we're going to go out on. So
50 years. There you go.
we want to thank Cosmo
Yeah.
for being our first special guest ever on the Ferris wheel. So Cosmo, we
Really?
thank you. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm honored.
We're honored that
We're on to
you
have you here,
actually
man.
you answered
We're
the
not
call.
worthy. We're not worthy.
But no, it's been fantastic, Cosmo. We'd like to know, would you like to come back again?
I'd love to come back.
Oh,
Okay,
music to our ears.
and not for Brian Adams week though.
No, I'll leave you out of Brian
Okay,
Adams.
cool.
But if you want, we could discuss it. We could discuss a
You're
topic
leaving
together
me out
and
of Brian Adams, too.
We'll discuss a topic together, and then
We'll go down the pub. And
Yeah.
we'll just wait for the Brian Adams podcast to blow over.
So before we
Cuts like a knife. Oh, good
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, on to home with me.
Oh, yeah.
You got to feed him, though.
you got to feed him though. But he's good at cleaning the house and stuff like that, and he'll even walk your dog.
Oh, brilliant.
There you go.
Although I don't know if I want to leave him alone with my dog.
So